My sister tried to hook up with my boyfriend a week before her own wedding. So, I went and told her fiancé, who ended up walking out on her at the altar. Now I'm the one engaged, but my parents think I wrecked everything because I was jealous. Hey there. First off, let me just be upfront about something. I absolutely can't stand my sister. I mean it. I hate her with every fiber of my being. She's just awful. A selfish, spoiled brat who only ever thinks about herself. What really gets me is that she acts like the world owes her everything she wants, like it's her right or something. I honestly can't stomach being around her, and I'm pretty sure the rest of our family has caught on to that by now. This whole mess goes way back, all the way to high school, actually. That's when she first crossed the line, flirting with my prom date. He told me about it, and from that moment on, things were never the same between us. We're only a year apart, so we were always neck and neck, trying to outdo each other. And to be fair, our parents didn't help much. By the time we hit middle school, they had pretty much given up hope that we'd ever get along. We've been butting heads since we were kids. I think a big part of the problem is that there wasn't enough of an age gap to give us any breathing room. We were just close enough in age to constantly clash, at least, that's how I see it. Everything between us was a competition. At first, it was about who could get more attention from mom and dad. Later on, it turned into a battle over friends, popularity at school, and eventually, guys. No matter what stage of life we were in, it always came back to us trying to outshine each other. Our parents used to try and push us to spend time together, hoping we'd magically become best friends or something. But honestly, I don't know why they bothered. Most siblings grow out of that rivalry stage, right? Not us. Not even close. And if you ask me, the blame falls squarely on her shoulders. She's just not a good person. Never has been. There were a few moments when we were little when I tried to make peace, tried to be the bigger person and reach out. But every time, she shot me down. Eventually, I stopped trying. I realized there was no point in putting in effort with someone who only wants to make your life miserable. She made it crystal clear she had no interest in getting along. Honestly, she's been a nightmare from day one. That's putting it lightly. I really can't say anything nicer than that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She doesn't have a single redeeming quality I can think of. What blows my mind is how she's managed to get so many guys to fall for her. It's baffling. And how she ended up with her fiancé, well, now her ex-fiancé, is the biggest head-scratcher of all. Yep, I said ex-fiancé. Because after everything that went down, I really doubt they'll be getting married, or even staying together, for that matter. Honestly, I think it's for the best. He's a good guy. Way too good for her. He deserves someone who actually respects him. But of course, my parents don't see it that way. They're furious with me, convinced I ruined the wedding out of spite, and they're embarrassed because it all fell apart right there in front of everyone. Now I'm left wondering, did I do the right thing, or did I take it too far? Let me lay it all out. My sister, her name's Sarah, had been dating Jacob for the past 5 years. They're both 25 now, and they got together back in college. I've seen him plenty over the years, family gatherings, holidays, birthdays, you name it. And honestly, the guy's a gem. Kind, respectful, soft-spoken. Everything Sarah is not. I never understood how she landed someone like him, especially considering her dating history. Before Jacob, she only ever dated losers, and none of those relationships lasted longer than a couple months. Between the ages of 16 and 20, she went through at least 8 different guys. Now, I'm not here to judge, she was young, still figuring things out. But I didn't think her thing with Jacob would last either. So, I was honestly shocked when they hit the 5-year mark, and even more surprised when he proposed to her during their anniversary party. For a second there, I thought maybe she'd finally grown up and found someone she actually wanted to build a life with. But after the engagement, I started hearing things. Not rumors I went looking for, just stuff that came to me through mutual friends from school. And what I heard? It wasn't great. It painted Sarah in a pretty ugly light. A few people swore she'd been telling folks she was single the entire time she was with Jacob. Apparently, she even went on dates with other guys during those 5 years, and some said she'd been active on dating apps. But all of it was hearsay. Nobody had proof, and I had no screenshots or solid evidence to confront her with. So I stayed quiet. I didn't want to be the one spreading gossip about my own sister, even if she probably deserved it. And all this chatter only started after she posted about the engagement online. That's when the whispers started picking up again in our old circles. I decided to keep it to myself. I hoped it was just noise, old drama that didn't mean anything. I wanted to believe she'd changed, and that she was finally serious about someone for once. For Jacob's sake, I really hoped that was true. The guy was head over heels for her, and I didn't want to see him get hurt. That was 8 months ago. And I had every intention of keeping my mouth shut. But then something happened, and it changed everything. I've been with my boyfriend, Raymond, for about 2 years now, and things are starting to get pretty serious between us. Lately, I've started bringing him around to family gatherings, and that's not something I do lightly. At this point in my life, I'm dating with the goal of settling down. I want a family, something real and lasting. My immediate family knows that Raymond isn't just some casual fling. Even Sarah knows how important he is to me. And despite all the tension between us, and yeah, we can't stand each other, we still end up seeing each other every single weekend for family dinners. That's non-negotiable in our household. Our parents made it crystal clear, no matter how much bad blood we've got going on, we're expected to play nice and act like one big happy family, especially in front of guests. Lately, my dad's health has been on the decline, so he insisted we start having dinner together every weekend, no exceptions. Just a couple hours every Sunday, enough to check in, eat together, and pretend we're getting along. Sarah and I don't talk much, we mostly stick to chatting with our parents, but we show up, put on fake smiles, and deal with it. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I told my folks that Raymond and I were thinking about getting engaged. We hadn't made any formal announcements or anything, but the plan was to do it sometime after Sarah's wedding. That's how serious we've gotten. Even though we've officially been dating for 2 years, we were actually close friends for 2 years before that. So, we've known each other a while. Sarah knew all of this. She knew how much I cared about him. And still, she decided to pull the same old stunt, just 1 week before her wedding, no less. It happened last week. My parents had planned one final dinner before the wedding to celebrate with Jacob and his family. It was a small, intimate thing, just family and a few close friends. After dinner, I stepped out into the garden to get some fresh air and clear my head. When I came back inside, I heard this flirty, sultry voice coming from the kitchen. It caught me off guard, so I paused for a second, curious. I peeked through the doorway and what I saw made my stomach turn. There she was, Sarah, in the kitchen with Raymond. And it wasn't just a normal conversation. She had him cornered, literally pressing him up against the wall, trying to close the distance between them. I stood there frozen, watching her shamelessly flirt with him, saying things like, "If you ever get bored of her, you know where to find me." It was disgusting. My blood was boiling. I pushed the door open, walked in, and just stood there in the doorway with my arms crossed, staring her down. I didn't say a word, just gave her the look that said, "Go ahead. Try me." But she didn't even flinch. She gave me this smug little smile like she hadn't done anything wrong and casually walked right past me like it was no big deal. After she left, Raymond immediately came over to explain, but he didn't have to. I could see it on his face, he was freaked out and uncomfortable. I trusted him. I knew he hadn't done anything wrong. He told me he had just gone into the kitchen to grab a bottle of water, and then Sarah came in after him, shut the door, and wouldn't let him leave. She backed him into the corner and started coming on to him. And here's the kicker, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Sarah has a history of trying to hit on guys I'm dating. Unfortunately, in the past, a few of those guys actually went for it. She's broken up my relationships before, and my parents knew all about it. Even so, they kept forcing me to be around her. And every time I said I was done, every time I threatened to cut contact, they'd guilt-trip me, pull out the emotional manipulation card. And I didn't want to completely walk away from my parents. Aside from this whole Sarah situation, they've always been pretty good to me. Now, I wouldn't say Sarah is their favorite or anything. She's caught her fair share of criticism from them too. But at the end of the day, her behavior is on her. You can't pin it on bad parenting or anything. She's just a selfish, destructive person. Always has been. To their credit, my parents have tried to hold the family together. But after what happened that night, I was done. If Sarah couldn't keep her hands to herself, even while she was engaged, then she had to face the fallout. This wasn't even about Raymond. This was about her obsession with competing with me, trying to one-up me every chance she got. I'd hit my breaking point. The first person I saw after Raymond told me everything was my mom, so I pulled her aside and told her exactly what had happened in the kitchen. I also brought up all the stuff I'd been hearing, rumors from friends about Sarah cheating on Jacob, acting single, going on dates, even after they got engaged. My mom was stunned. I really thought she'd tell me to do the right thing, to speak up and stop Jacob from marrying someone who clearly wasn't committed to him. But instead, she begged me to stay quiet. Literally begged me. Told me to put it all aside for the sake of the wedding. Just smile through it, keep the peace, and let everything play out after the ceremony. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I always thought my parents, no matter how flawed they were, had some kind of moral compass. I figured they'd want me to protect Jacob, a guy who clearly didn't deserve this. But instead, my mom was pleading with me to stay silent. To pretend everything was fine. Like nothing ever happened. After that conversation with my mom, something in me finally broke. I let go of the last shred of hope I had that this family could ever be normal. Sarah was who she was, a toxic, manipulative person, and my parents, no matter how much they pretended to be fair and loving, had always enabled her. They never held her accountable. If anything, they helped shape her into the mess she'd become. So when Raymond and I left my parents' house that night, I was angry, frustrated in a way I hadn't felt before. I had spent so long thinking my parents would eventually come around and do the right thing. But that night made it crystal clear, when it came to Sarah, they'd always turn a blind eye. They'd always protect her. But just a few minutes after we got home, Raymond told me something that flipped everything on its head, and gave me back a little bit of power. Apparently, while he was in the kitchen during that whole awkward encounter with Sarah, his phone had accidentally started recording. He'd been holding it in his hand when she walked in, and as he tried to slip it into his pocket, he must have hit record without realizing it. So now, we had video evidence, proof of Sarah cornering him and blatantly coming on to him just a week before her wedding. The second I saw that video, I knew what I had to do. I sat down, opened up my laptop, and typed out everything I had heard over the years, every rumor, every piece of gossip from people who'd seen Sarah acting like she was single even after she got engaged. Then I attached the video and sent it all to Jacob in an email. At that point, I wasn't even sure what I expected to happen. Maybe some kind of blow-up? A phone call? At the very least, a text? But the next day, nothing. Not a single message. No word from Jacob. Not from Sarah. Not even from my parents. It was like we'd dropped a bomb and the world just kept spinning. Raymond and I kept checking our phones all day, waiting for something. But by the afternoon, it was still silent. Radio silence. Honestly, it was eerie. My mom even called me at one point and had a completely normal chat with me, like nothing had happened. That's when I started to worry that maybe Jacob had seen the email, watched the video, and decided to just let it go. To stay with Sarah anyway. I'd be lying if I said we weren't disappointed. After everything Sarah had done, I thought we'd finally hit a point where she'd have to face consequences. But it looked like we'd failed again. At least, that's what we thought, until the wedding. A week passed. Yesterday, Raymond and I showed up at the ceremony, confused as hell. We couldn't believe the wedding was still happening after what we'd sent Jacob. But there we were, dressed up, playing polite, wondering if he had even opened the email at all. Everything seemed fine. Normal. Too normal. They both looked happy, and Jacob greeted us like he always did. No hint of anything being off. By that point, I'd given up. I figured maybe it wasn't my place to push it. Maybe the universe had decided this wasn't my battle to fight. I wasn't going to dig up the email again or try to get him to look. I'd done my part. I'd spoken the truth. What he did with it was up to him. But then, something wild happened. The ceremony started. Sarah said her vows, and then it was Jacob's turn. Except instead of saying his vows, he looked out at the crowd and started talking about a certain email he'd received exactly 1 week earlier. Raymond and I glanced at each other, and right then we both knew, it was our email. He didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. Just calm. Steady. And then, in front of everyone, he read the email out loud. Word for word. Then he pulled out his phone, hooked it to the mic, and played the video. You could hear Sarah's voice, clear as day, flirting with Raymond. You could hear Raymond trying to get out of the situation. It was awkward as hell. Every head in the room slowly turned to look at us. Once the video ended, Jacob said he had waited an entire week, thinking everything through. He hadn't said a word to anyone, not even Sarah. But in that time, he'd done some digging. He reached out to people from Sarah's past, guys from her school days, and a few of them confirmed everything. They even sent him pictures, proving she had been out on dates with them during the years she was supposed to be with him. After all that, he said there was nothing left to say to her. And he chose that exact moment, up at the altar, with everyone watching, to end it. To walk away. He said that after everything, he felt like he deserved at least one moment of clarity, of justice, maybe even revenge. And then he walked out. For a few seconds, the entire place was dead silent. Then Sarah lost it. She completely broke down, sobbing, screaming, full-on meltdown mode. The room turned into chaos. Nobody really knew what to do. Was the wedding off? Was this real? People were just milling around, stunned. Eventually, Jacob's family got up and took the mic. They gently told everyone that the wedding was cancelled, but they'd still be serving lunch for those who had traveled and taken time out of their day. Some guests stayed. Most people left. Raymond and I slipped out as quickly as we could. Raymond and I could barely believe what had just happened. It felt surreal. But more than anything, we were relieved that Jacob had finally seen the truth for himself and had the strength to walk away. The guy really didn't deserve what Sarah put him through. He's a good man, and he deserves someone who actually loves him, not someone who keeps him around like a backup plan. Once we got home, we had no idea what to expect next. The fallout could have gone a million different ways. And sure enough, late that night, I got the call I knew was coming. It was my mom. Her voice was cold, colder than I expected. She didn't ask questions. She knew I had sent the email. She called me vindictive, accused me of being jealous that Sarah was getting married before me, and blamed me for ruining the wedding. She said I'd always hated my sister, and this was just me finally getting what I wanted. Then she hit me with something that really stung. She said I was no better than Sarah. That the two of us were just as bad as each other, always locked in this stupid competition, always trying to tear each other down. She said maybe that's why we never got along. And finally, she told me that she didn't want to talk anymore. That it'd be best if we didn't keep in touch for a while. Hearing those words from my mom, someone I had looked up to, someone I had hoped would finally understand, it just shattered me. I kept replaying the conversation over and over in my head, trying to find the right response. But I had nothing. I was too hurt. Too tired. I had tried so hard to do the right thing, and this is what I got in return. And now? I'm left wondering, am I actually the villain here? Raymond keeps telling me I'm not. That I did the right thing. But he's my boyfriend. Of course, he's going to take my side. What I really want is to know what other people think. Am I the bad guy for telling my sister's fiancé the truth, that she was trying to cheat on him just a week before their wedding? It's been a week since the wedding imploded. And from what I've heard through the grapevine, the wedding is officially off. They broke up, just like I thought they would. But now Sarah is running around, telling anyone who'll listen that I'm the reason everything fell apart. Like she wasn't the one who tried to hit on my boyfriend a week before walking down the aisle. Like she wasn't the one cheating the entire time. Honestly, I've stopped trying to make sense of it. This isn't on me. For a minute there, I let myself believe my mom's words. I let her get in my head. She twisted things so much, I actually started to believe I might be at fault. Yeah, I've probably competed with my sister more than I'd like to admit. I won't deny that. But not once, did I try to hurt her the way she tried to hurt me. I never hit on any of her boyfriends. I never sabotaged her relationships. I never went out of my way to make her life miserable. Did I want to win sometimes? Sure. But I never crossed the line. I always had a line. Sarah didn't. And that's the difference. She's a serial cheater. She lies, she manipulates, and she walks all over people like it's her God-given right. And I exposed her. That's all I did. I didn't twist the truth. I didn't frame her. I showed the guy the reality of who he was about to marry. If I hadn't, he would have ended up in a miserable marriage, and eventually, probably, a nasty divorce. I saved him from that. And if my parents are too focused on our so-called family reputation to see that, that's their problem. I blocked them. I needed space. And if they ever want to reach out, they know where to find me. As for Sarah? I don't care how she feels. I really don't. She's never cared about anyone else's feelings. So I don't feel like I owe her any kind of sympathy now. If she's miserable, maybe she should have thought about that before she destroyed every relationship she ever touched. Maybe she should have been a better partner. A better person. Yes, I tried to sabotage their relationship, but not because I wanted him for myself. It was because I knew she didn't deserve him. And even if my actions were driven by spite, and sure, maybe some of it was, it still led to the truth coming out. And Jacob getting out before it was too late. Just because I wanted something good for him doesn't mean I was romantically interested in him. He's a kind guy, I won't deny that. But he and we're not even close friends. We've never been anything more than acquaintances through my sister. That Jacobry is not just wrong, it's insulting. And besides, I have Raymond. I've been with him for 2 years. I love him more than anything. I want to build a future with him. That should have been obvious from everything I've shared. So no, I don't regret what I did. Not even a little. I put up with a mountain of crap from my sister over the years, and I finally did something about it. If people still want to think I was in the wrong, that's on them. I know what I did, and I know why I did it. I don't feel guilty. I feel free. At this point, I've stopped trying to fix things with my family. They've made it painfully clear that I'm not a priority to them, and honestly, neither is doing what's right. So I've let go of the idea that I need to explain myself or win anyone over. Whatever. It's a free country, right? Everyone gets to live however they want, and that's exactly what we're all doing. Hey again, so it's been nearly 2 weeks since the wedding fell apart and Jacob walked out on Sarah at the altar. And today, something completely unexpected happened. I finally heard from him. Honestly, I didn't think I ever would. I mean, I was the one who blew the whistle and pretty much nuked his wedding. I figured he wouldn't want anything to do with me after that, especially since we weren't exactly close to begin with. We were more like friendly acquaintances at best. But this afternoon, he sent me an email. A reply to the message I had sent him 3 weeks ago before the wedding. He said he hadn't reached out sooner because he needed time. He was still sorting through everything, his emotions, the betrayal, the shock of it all. And I get that. I never expected a thank you or closure. I just did what I felt was right. Still, it meant a lot to hear from him. In the email, he thanked me for stepping up and telling him the truth, when nobody else had the courage to. He said he'd always had a few doubts about Sarah, but he kept brushing them off. Thought maybe people were just being harsh or judgmental. And since no one had ever come to him with anything concrete, he just assumed she was misunderstood. But I was the first, and only, person who actually gave him the full picture. Gave him the facts and let him make his own decision. And for that, he said he was grateful. He also made it clear that he didn't care why I did it. He didn't want to dig into my motives or figure out if it came from a place of spite or concern. In his words, that would ruin the whole thing. He just wanted to acknowledge it and move on. And I respect that. I still feel bad for him in a way. He really did love her, and I know this wasn't how he pictured things ending. But Raymond and I talked about it, and we both agree, he's better off now. Hopefully he'll find someone who treats him the way he deserves to be treated. Hey again, this last update is going to be short and sweet. So, remember how I mentioned before that Raymond and I were thinking about getting engaged? Well, it finally happened. 2 days ago, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him, and of course, I said yes. We're officially engaged. And in a couple of days, we're throwing a little engagement party to celebrate. We didn't invite my parents. They haven't made any effort to reach out, not even after I posted about our engagement online. No congratulations. No message. Nothing. I think it's safe to say our relationship with them is over now. But the rest of our family? They've been wonderful. A lot of my relatives reached out, told me they supported what I did back then, and made it clear that my parents are the ones in the wrong, not me. So, I'm done expecting anything from them. I've got Raymond, I've got people who care, and I'm happy. That's all I really need right now.